Hello everyone and welcome to week 2. Just a posting up here. This video will appear in this week 2 announcements on here. End grades, grades, and rhetorical analysis, the intro to that. You guys will all be starting on that this week. The 16th, students should begin rhetorical analysis assignment. See Dropbox. You guys will begin today with the rhetorical analysis summary and outline, the due date being the 22nd for that one. You guys have that Dropbox that you'll be going through, and then you'll have the rough draft that comes up, and as you work through the rough draft, you're going to be working right into the argumentation piece that we do, the first argumentation component that we do the same weekend as the rhetorical analysis, along with the preliminary points of support. So a couple of students had asked about the workload for this. Yes, it does get a little bit more intense as the weeks go on, so just note that now. Monday, you guys begin that piece on the rhetorical analysis summary and outline. I will be posting the grades for all submitted diagnostic essay and introductory discussion board posts that are up there so far. I will be going through those tomorrow afternoon, so while you do have until tomorrow evening to complete the discussion board, if that is the only thing that you have completed, that still is enough to be considered gradable work, the diagnostic or that piece. They should both be in. The diagnostic needs to be in on Sunday last evening at 11:30 at this time, and the discussion board post on Monday by 11:30. I gave one more day on that for anybody who's still finalizing that. The FERPA form and academic honesty, those aren't considered gradable work. Those are contract between student and professor, making sure that we have these in so that I can give certain information over D2L and through email for discussing those. Now, with the diagnostic, reiterating this for clarity here. Diagnostic is a piece that you do not do with instruction. You just do it blindly. You go into that Dropbox, read those instructions, and show what you can produce. That is so that the professor can make an assessment of whether or not you are ready for an English 1520 class. This is not a class where we go through sentence level instruction. It is typically focused on higher level analysis and essay style. Now, that means that everyone with MLA format and sentence level issues, if you do not understand those things, make sure that you get into your textbook and review your MLA formatting. If you do have issues with sentence level construction and wording and those things, plan on being recommended to tutoring and plan on using it this term if you expect to get a decent grade on most of these assignments. I'm not going to be going through sentence level errors on these. I'm going to be focusing mostly on your content. If I can't understand the things at the sentence level, then I can't even get to the content, and those things will be marked accordingly with very little credit on those. You must make sure that you understand those things going into a 1520. If you passed over a 1055 and 1060 and got directly into a 1510 and completed that as a prerequisite, or had some other prerequisite from a class in high school or something along those lines, or tested into a 1520, that means you're ready for 1520 work. If I look through the diagnostic and assess that you have a number of issues outstanding that need to be addressed, I will mark that accordingly on there, and I will make recommendations to you about ASC online or in-person tutoring throughout the term. If you get such recommendations on those diagnostic feedback files, make sure that you follow them. If you do not, your grade will reflect that. I will continue to mark things down as we progress. If I'm having an issue just reading your work and you following basic things like MLA format, I'm not going to move on to further credit with the things of analysis and stuff like that we're working on. I'll be posting credit for anything that's up through the end of tomorrow. I will be working on putting those in by the end of tomorrow evening. That doesn't mean if you're still scrambling to submit things by the end of tomorrow that I'm going to be going back and looking for them. I'm already into files now and doing that this evening. I'm recording this on Sunday. This evening and tomorrow, I will have them in and entered into online services by tomorrow evening so that the end grades are posted. If a student has not been in the class and submitted gradable work, I will process an end grade. I will post one in there with online services, and they will remove you from the class. Anything that results from that, you'll have to deal with them. It's out of my hands after that point. This is the end grade that was given by the school. That is college policy, not mine. So you have to follow that for all of these types of online classes. Now, for this week, Make sure you're still following through on schedule and tentative plan of work. Last week's was an optional Zoom session. I just recorded it and posted up for students to watch. Make sure you've read through these. The remainder of weeks 4 will be open at the start of week 2. I will open up the next 3 and 4 weeks 3 and 4 in terms of the content area that you can see there, along with the rest of the reading schedule for weeks 3 and 4. And then nearing the end of week, going on with that week 4, we will open up the 5 through 8 on there. Optional Zooms will still be on weeks 1, 3, 5, and 7. That means that next week I will not be posting a pre-recorded video. I will be going through and doing an optional Zoom again at 11 a.m. on the Tuesday. If you can attend. Make sure that you remember these readings and writing assignments are due each week. The textbook information that was listed here last week for some of you. I posted this prior to term starting and sent this out in pre-term emails. I've found that I have 6 or 7 students who still don't have textbooks. Remember, that is your responsibility. I sent them out with plenty of time to have them for classes. I myself have had texts shipped to me within a few days through these same online ordering processes, so these things should be in hand and read, particularly now that we're getting into the rhetorical analysis here, which is going to require that you've read that chapter and understand what things are like rhetorical devices and appeals. There was a question I received about accessing some instructional links. No one really needs any of these instructional links just yet, but if you do need them throughout these weeks, these are supplementals for students who do need additional things. You're having problems at the sentence level or whatever the case may be. If you have any issue with accessing any of these files, I'll show you here on mine. I have no issue going ahead and clicking on these and having the files accessible. So the component pieces that also go along with them, I've gone through these on several different devices already today. They're all accessible files. If you have any issue accessing any of these, typically speaking, it's got something to do with your browser, browser settings, browser history, or the type of browser you're using. Could be the device or both. You're trying to access something from a phone as opposed to a PC or a laptop. If that is the case, try it from a PC or a laptop and make sure that you are using a current browser, and make sure you've cleared browser histories, and make sure that everything is up to date, that you've actually shut your device down and turned it back on. Most of these issues I went through last term to make sure that none of this stuff would have any access issues, and re-uploaded everything as a modified and updated document, so there would be no issues with that. So there should be no access issues across the board. Now, for the rhetorical analysis, everyone also remember in your content file, guys, the weeks are also posted up here, right? Week 2 rhetorical analysis. So just note on those. You can go back through the ones that you want at your own leisure, but the weeks post up for what's coming for each part of the lesson. Now, it's also in this course schedule and tentative plan of work. Will be right here on your home page every week. So the rhetorical analysis summary and outline, all the instructions are included here for this opening portion. This gives you a sample commercial that's talked about in some of these instructional breakdowns about this piece is always hashtag like a girl ad. It's an awareness campaign piece. And just as a heads up at the start of this, so that you note, and you might want to write this down, this ad piece uses rhetorical devices like imagery, humor, juxtaposition, music. Okay, those are all different rhetorical devices. It also uses the rhetorical device of the slogan or saying like a girl, right? Now, the things I said there were all rhetorical devices. That means they're used to appeal to viewers. You are reading your textbook about rhetorical techniques and different concepts from philosophy and rhetorical concepts called pathos, logos, and ethos. If you've completed that reading, you know what I'm talking about. Make sure that what you do here is abide by the rules that are set and give me the criteria that I'm asking for the part 1, the summary, and part 2 outline that's this week. You're going to be outlining for me just the rhetorical devices that you are analyzing from the commercial. Everyone is selecting a commercial of their own. This is the example one I use for this to break this down. You'll see that on the rubric and summary and outline pieces. There's also a student sample paper that uses a different commercial. There's a breakdown of charting devices called the Like a Girl charting devices on here. This shows how we might chart some of the devices that are used and then their intentional appeals. Do not make the mistake of using appeals as devices, saying that they use a rhetorical device of pathos, logos, or ethos. Devices are things like imagery, humor, music, dialogue, and juxtaposition. If I see that you're doing these things when we're going over this and I'm looking at and analyzing and looking through your work, I will simply mark that down. I won't accept that work. The devices are the items that I've just described there. Things like the imagery, things like the music, a celebrity spokesperson, voiceover narration. Those are rhetorical devices. Rhetorical appeals are the things of logos, ethos, and pathos. So make sure that you read through the rubric, and if you've had my course before and you've done rhetorical analysis, remember you must use a different ad this time. You can't use the same commercial this time as you did last time. I recommend everyone read through these pieces and you pick a commercial advertisement for a product as opposed to a political piece. You can do things like political speeches and stuff like that. It does tend to be a little bit more difficult for students, particularly if this is your first time doing a rhetorical analysis. However, you can do those if that's what you really want to do. Just be forewarned that they do tend to be a little bit more difficult. Now, make sure you read through all the directions on here on those pieces, and then on the summary and outline, I'm not going to open up the student paper one, but on the summary outline, you're writing a brief 200-word summary right here of the information described for the assignment, so giving me the stuff that's in the drop box that I asked for here. And then in the outline, you are filling in these categories. Remove any samples that are here beforehand. A general to specific intro means that you would state a category that specific type of commercial ad would go into. Then a specific example would be an example of something other than your ad, right? Other than your commercial. Then your topic would be the category where you give everything the reader needs to know about this ad to understand who made it, why, what the intended the intention behind the ad was. You know, were they trying to get someone to buy a product, spread awareness, both, those kinds of things. And then a thesis statement that gives the detailed rhetorical devices that the ad used to make their argument. So an example thesis statement is here. In order to appeal to their intended audience, Ford Motor Company utilized rhetorical devices of imagery, voiceover narration, and music to make the claim that, and you would more likely here make the claim that their new, such and such vehicle is the best that beats out all competition, right? And then here you will give a topic sentence, remove the example one that's here. The first rhetorical device employed in this commercial is imagery. And then down here you need to give at least 6 full statements, writing in full statements on here, full sentences, at least 6 different details about that when that imagery or the individual images are utilized, right? And do that all along the way for the different rhetorical devices that are used. Fill that out once you've picked a commercial and you've run through all those different details on these so that you make sure you understand what it is you're writing about and why. If you haven't done the reading the textbook yet, a lot of this doesn't make sense to you just now, so make sure that you do. And make sure that you understand these pieces here. Do not go to the internet looking for other suggestions or ideas. We are sticking with rhetorical appeals, utilizing logos, ethos, and pathos. We're not doing Kairos and a bunch of other ones. You start submitting things that talking about philosophical concepts or rhetorical concepts that aren't covered in this book and weren't covered in any of my lectures or examples, I will automatically know that you're doing exactly what I have instructed you not to do. So make sure you stick with the instructions in this drop box. Remember, everything must be MLA, third person, analysis, straightforward, right? Make sure that you look through the examples, you watch the commercial and think about the rhetorical devices there that I mentioned. Read through these instructions, complete the summary and outline, and I look forward to seeing those next weekend, and I will give any recommendations I can by the time we're into our drafting stage. Drafting stage for this will also be our first round of peer editing for these. All right? Best of luck.